Guys, today we're here with Dan, the mould remediation specialist. Dan, tell us about what problem we've got right here, buddy.
Hey guys, how we doing? Today we've just been asked to come and have a look at a small little mould job. It's inside a warehouse. As you can see here, this is the kitchenette for the warehouse. Plumber was asked to come and change the hot water system that gave way. It flooded a bit of water out. So at first they just thought it was some water damage. But once we removed the bottom shelf, we exposed a problem that no one knew about, hidden underneath the kitchen bench. And so it's a really good idea when you have a water damage to have a professional check into these hard to reach and hidden spaces using our specialty equipment, because you never know what's lurking beneath. So in this sort of situation, our first goal is to try and make it safe for the occupant. We do a detailed report, we do some testing, we do a moisture map of the area just to see what needs to be done. And then we'll submit those findings to you and let you know what's involved in remediating the process. But to give you a bit of idea, we use equipment, some specialty equipment like this one here. This is an air filtration device that's used to create a negative air chamber when we're doing the remediation works, because the last thing we want to do is spread any contaminations we pull out into other unaffected areas within the building. And so that's one of the devices we do. You'll also find that when we do this work, we'll set up a temporary containment and a barrier, so that when we're working within it, any dirt or mess we make is contained within that containment area.
So if people tried to do it at home, they could potentially cross-contaminate an area?
Yeah, well, I mean, this is a perfect example. Lucky we saw this. Lucky we were here when the plumber was changing it. So this is the hot water system here, right? The plumber was ready to get stuck into it, and he was about to stick this board over the top of it and install the hot water system, and no one would have ever known. You would have had this potential mould there, which is a health hazard to the workers and the staff that are here every day. And it's right next to the kitchen as well.
True.
So we noticed it. We brought up the issue with them, and luckily we did, because now we can remediate it properly and get rid of all the affected materials.
So if you hadn't have known that, it would have just gotten worse, really.
Yeah, well, I mean, some people, they don't get affected that much by mould. They can be around it and seem to have not too much effect. Other people, they can get more hay fever-like symptoms. Some people, it makes them chronically sick and ill, and puts them in hospital. And so
does mould grow if you leave it?
Yeah, it will. I mean, you can see this mould. This is not a very bad mould job in any instance. It gets a lot worse than this. But generally what's happening is you've had a slow leak happening from the hot water system. It's allowed the area to stay moist. You've got elevated moisture content because it's trapped underneath this bottom shelf that was here. And because it had nowhere to go, it had nowhere to evaporate to, it just started to grow. And like I said, this is not a very bad mould job. It gets a lot worse. But in this situation, it needs to be fixed. It can't be covered up like the plumber was about to do.
So what's the next step?
For us, this is a relatively easy step.
Yeah.
Probably one of the most important things with mould remediation, and the one I tell all my technicians is to set up proper containment. So if you start getting into this and you start pulling it apart, you're going to create dust and you're going to spread the spores. If you try and spray stuff on it to kill it, you're also going to allow it to release toxins as well. And so that can be potentially dangerous to you if you're not wearing the proper PPE and if you don't have the right containment set up. So our first approach is we set up proper containment. We set up one of these machines. We set it up in a way that allows the mould to be contained, and it won't spread to other parts of your house.
Yeah. So you don't want to use a fan or anything like that, do you?
No, you don't want to spread it.
That'd spread it, wouldn't it?
Yeah, that'll spread it. Yeah. So even things like if you're in a house and you had like an air vent above you, if you start pulling this apart and you haven't covered those ventilation holes up, you're going to cross-contaminate your whole HVAC system, which is then going to spread it to other parts of your house as well.
Yeah.
And so containment is probably one of the most important things.
Could kids be affected by it more than adults too because they're younger? Or?
Yeah, like kids can be affected. People with autoimmune disorders,
Yeah.
elderly people, people who have been sick recently or just come out of hospital. But even like healthy people, like you know, if you start tackling a situation like this and you cut yourself in the process and you don't have the right, you know, protective equipment, then you could potentially become sick from that as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's something that's relatively easy to fix if done the right way. If it's done the right way, you know, it's like a cancer. We can get rid of it all.
Yeah.
And it's unlikely that it's going to come back unless there's something new that arises from it. But if not done properly, it's very likely it will come back. So you could spend all this time and money to repair the damage to this cabinet and put a hot water system in to find that you haven't got all the mould, and it's come back and you know to rip it all back out again, you've got double the cost.
So you want to do it the right way the first
time.
time.
Often as much as it could be inconvenient, and you just want to get it done, it's usually best to do it right the first time.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks, Dan. Appreciate that.
All right.